Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Nate. I wanted to start off 2024 with a reading challenge to really kind of like help kickstart myself into reading for the year. I had like a week off over Christmas where I basically did no reading because I was at home with my family and just chilling. I feel like I need something to really like get me back into reading, get me going, and challenges really help me with that because I'm very competitive with myself especially. So I want to do this. I failed a couple of challenges in the past. I've successfully done a couple of challenges before. So I want to start the year with reading challenge and do it and make it a success. I also think it would just be a really nice way of kicking start my reading for the year. The challenge in particular I'm going to be doing this time is the 24-hour reading challenge, but the timer method. So I am actively reading for 24 hours. I will be using physical books, but also audiobooks and graphic novels and such to do this, and it's probably going to take me the week. It is Tuesday the 2nd as I'm filming this, and I am working all week until Friday, so I don't see myself doing a ton of reading every single day, but at the weekend, I'm going to kick it out if I need to really finish off this task. So the goal is to use my timer, to time myself every time I read, and to read for 24 hours this week. I have already started. I've read like for 15 minutes, but I'm listening to the Keepers of the Lost City, the audiobook, so I have done that. And yeah, I'm going to kick it off this morning. It's about 1:45, and so I have to leave for work at 3:30. I need to eat between that time and make sure I'm ready for work, so I can see myself doing about an hour this morning of reading, but tomorrow I will hopefully do a bit more, and then Thursday, Friday, and then finish it at the weekend. That's the intention. I don't want to take this into next week. I will if I need to, but I don't want to. So let's talk about what I will be reading today. Yesterday, I started reading Castle in the Air by Diane Wynne Jones. I'm about like 30 pages into it, although it starts on page 9. So I've done about 20 pages of this. This is a middle grade book, and yeah, it was easy to read and I'm enjoying it. I do think this afternoon I might sit and kick out this Heartstopper Volume 3. I am a little bit into this, so it will take me about half an hour to read. So I might start with this, get this finished as like an early win book done for the month, which is a nice feeling, and so then, yeah, move on to something else. So that is what I think I'm going to do for this bit. I'm going to start. I will check in. I don't know if I'll check in before I leave for work, but if not, I'll check in tomorrow and kind of give you an update of what I do. Like I said, I am listening to my audiobook as well, so I will listen to that as well for the day. My goal, I definitely want to get over an hour for the first day. 3 would be kind of preferable, but I don't see that happening. I'm working from 4 until 10, so by the time I get home from work, I cycle as well. I'm usually a bit tired. The weather's been atrocious as well at the moment, so like I got home yesterday and I was just like a drowned rat from cycling in the rain, and the wind more than anything is worse because I'm like cycling, but like the wind is really pushing against me, so it just doesn't feel like I'm going far for the amount of effort I'm putting in. So I'm tired by the time I get home, so I don't know how much reading I'll do in the evening, but yeah, I will crack on with some reading and I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. So it is now Saturday. I have vlogged nothing throughout the week, and I also haven't actually read that much as far as this challenge goes. I am at 4 hours and 40 minutes, so that's not great. I'll be honest, I was working for 6 days straight, like I said, and I wasn't working loads of hours, but I was just really tired when I got back, and I was doing some other bits, and so yeah, I just wasn't reading as much. I have read some bits, and so yeah, this challenge is just going to get extended. I liked the idea of getting the challenge done in a week, but I'm okay with it going over 2 weeks. I don't really want it to go over more than 2 weeks, so hopefully we'll, over the next week, get it really done. Like I said, it is Saturday now, so over the next 2 days I'm going to be reading more, and then I'm only working my regular 3 days next week, and I'm still not back at uni yet, although I do have a shit ton of uni work to do, but I can listen to audiobooks while doing that. But I thought I would just pop in and at least give you guys an update on what I am reading and what I have read so far for my like 4 hours. First up, I have read both of the Heartstopper volumes that were on my TBR, so 3 and 4. 3 was fine. I had already started 3, but it was fine. I think I liked 4 a bit more. It deals with stuff after what season 2 left us on, and it goes into some more like mental health stuff, and I think it was dealt with in quite a nice way. I've mentioned before, this isn't a favorite series of mine. It's just kind of average, and so yeah, this again was average. I have requested out the 5th volume from my library. I think I'm like 7th in line, so I don't know when it's going to come out, but I'm not sure if I'm going to buy that volume yet. I hear the volume is based on the novella, which I did not like, so I'm going to read the volume, and if I like the volume enough, I might buy it, but I haven't decided yet. But yeah, so I've read these 2, so that got those 2 through in an early like win. I have listened to some odds and sods of audiobooks. I listened to a little bit so far of City of Lost Keepers, as well as I've listened to a little bit of Ali Abdul's, I think it's Feel Good Positivity it's called. It's this audiobook here. My sister got that. She pre-ordered it, so I listened to it. She's already listened to the whole thing. I'm listening to it. I really like him. He is a YouTuber that does a lot of productivity stuff. So far, I've listened to a bit of that. And I've been reading Castle in the Air. I am at page 100 on this. This is the 2nd book in the Howl's Moving Castle series. When I mentioned in my TBR, I wasn't quite sure how it relates, and I'm still not quite sure how it relates, other than it's kind of whimsical. And yeah, this is very much a Aladdin retelling, but it looks like it's potentially going to get into some other stuff now. So yeah, I'm on page 106. So I'm going to carry on reading this probably soon, because I do have a few things that are like on the go, and I don't want to have loads of all of the books on the go at once, so I probably will read some more of this today as well. However, I did also start reading A Dowry of Blood. This one has pretty much definitely won my little poll that I put up. Thank you guys so much for voting in that poll. I did not think that many people would, but they did, and that was just so lovely. And this one had like a good 70%, I think it was, in the end of the win. So I'm currently at 14% of the way through that. I think that's about page 47 or something. And so far, I'm enjoying it. I didn't know what I thought it was going to be. I knew it was something to do with Dracula, and I knew it was something to do with vampires. I'll be honest, I haven't read Dracula, so I don't know if I would potentially enjoy this more if I had read Dracula. So like Constantine, is that her name? Constantine? What is her name? Let me look. Constanza? So potentially I would know more about her as a character if I had read the original Dracula, which I do intend to do at some point. I own a physical copy of it, so I do want to read it. Yeah, it's a very easy read. It's written in the first person, which I find easier to read. I prefer reading from the third person perspective, but I think I find the first person perspective easier to read from. And so it's been a really easy read. I was reading it last night and I kind of flew through those 40 pages, so I'll probably carry on reading that as well. It's very different to Castle in the Air, so I don't mind kind of juggling those two books at the same time. So that's pretty much all I've read so far. I'm going to carry on with obviously the Castle in the Air and Dowry of Blood. I might read a little bit of this one just because I am already again in the middle of it, so I know this story well enough that I can easily just pick it back up and stuff easy enough. So yeah, this might get a little bit read tonight. I don't 100% know. The other two books are easier to read and I'm a little sleepy today, so maybe I'll read those. But yeah, so this is also an option. I don't think I'm going to start another one of my TBR books until I at least have some of these read. So this week was a bit intense for me and I was a bit sleepy, so I didn't read as much, but I am happy with what I've done. Well, I have done reading wise, but I'm excited to read more now, especially over these next couple of days. But for now, I think I'm going to go grab a drink, sit down and just read for a bit. So yeah, I will update you guys later with how I'm doing. So a little update, it is now later on Saturday. I have just hit about 6 and a bit hours. So on here, I'm reading A Dowry of Blood, and I'm about 25% through, and I'm actually really enjoying it. It's very easy to read. It's from the first person's perspective. It is about Constanza. She is the first bride, I guess, of Dracula. I mentioned earlier that I've never read Dracula's story, so I don't actually know how that story ends. My sister has read it, and she has spoken to me about it before, and so I kind of know little bits, but I don't know, like, the whole story. But I'm enjoying this so far. It's just very quick as well to read. I kind of sometimes forget how much I enjoy reading on my Kindle app. It's just really easy just to sit with my tablet and just, like, read for a few hours. So I've done that, carrying on with that. I have listened to like the first chapter of Circe, and then I was like, I'm kind of doing too much in terms of like, I'm spreading myself a bit far. So I'm like listening to Circe, listening to City of Lost Souls. I'm reading these two books. I started reading a non-fiction book and I was like, okay, I need to calm down. So I'm going to carry on with The Dowry of Blood. City of Lost Souls will be my only current audiobook, and then I am also reading A Castle in the Air. I have just hit like about halfway, and this is very, very vastly different from A Dowry of Blood, so I think it's okay to have these two books at the same time, but I think I need to like stop it there, like finish one of these first before moving on to another book, and not have so many books going on at once. This book is quite fun. It's very like things happen very, very fast, and it's quite simply written. So it's about Abdullah. He is a carpet merchant. At the beginning of the story, he manages to get this carpet, which is a magic carpet, and when he falls asleep on it one night, he ends up getting transported to the palace where he meets a princess called Flower in the Night, and she's never met another man before other than her father. And so Abdullah and her, they basically fall in love very, very quickly. This all happens quite early on in the book. And so like Abdullah decides that he's going to get married to her and he's going to kind of steal her away. But then a jinn kidnaps her, and the Sultan thinks it's Abdullah. So then Abdullah is on the run, and yeah, it's just kind of all this hijinks. And then he finds the genie's bottle, and yeah, so I can kind of see now where I think this is going to lead into being connected to Housemoving Castle. He's currently in the idea of talking about wizards. So I don't know if the wizard that he's going to go and find and talk to is going to be Hal. That's then where I see there being a connection. But yeah, this is an extremely quick, easy read, and I am enjoying it, and it's just quite fun and has that kind of like outlandish whimsicalness that like middle grades have, where they have so much stuff that is just quite readily accepted in the books, and it's fine, and I'm enjoying that. Yeah, it's about 10:30 and I'm not that tired at the moment, so I probably will just stay up and read for a bit more tonight, and I'm just going to be kind of flitting between this one and Dowry of Blood. So yeah, I will catch up with you guys tomorrow now and just see how I'm getting on. I'm feeling a bit better now that I'm actually kind of getting into the swing of it, and actually, you know, over the 3-hour mark or so, whatever I was at the start of today. So I will catch up with you guys in a bit. Hello guys, it's now Sunday. I did not pause my bloody stopwatch last night, so I went on this morning to start reading and press start, and it was at like 19 hours. So I remember it being about 18 hours, potentially 18 and a half hours. I have a screenshot that says 16 and a half hours, but that was taken at like 10 o'clock, I think, and I definitely read past 10 o'clock. So I think I was at 8 hours, and so over the rest of this week I'm basically going to try and read 16 hours because I can pretty much guarantee that I was at about 8 hours. So yeah, I am very annoyed at myself for that. I'm just about to start reading for the day. So it is like the afternoon. I've had a proper like lazy, I stayed up quite late last night. I was doing random crap on my computer, like editing some videos, just chilling out for the weekend. But I'm up, and so I'm just gonna have a chill Sunday as well. I have about 40 pages left to read of Castle in the Air, so I'm gonna crack on with this now and then get that done, which is something that I really, really want to do. So then that way I have technically read 3 things in a week because I've read the 2 Heartstoppers, which is kind of the area I need to be at, like reading 2 volumes of manga or graphic novel a week and a book. That would feel good to get done. But yeah, I wanted to come on and be like, I didn't press pause, but that's fine. So yeah, I am going to crack on with some reading, and I will give you an update on actually what I have read later and where my time I think is at. If not, I will definitely do maybe like 17.5 hours reading, because I definitely have the screenshot for 6.5 hours. But yeah, annoyed, but such is life. It is now Tuesday. I have not been really vlogging much at all, but that's fine. So I can't remember where I last left off. I know that I mentioned that I had reset my timer. So at my new timer, I'm now at 5.5 hours. So I think I'm on about 13.5 hours overall. It is chilly in the UK at the moment, plus the hoodie. And I just thought I would give you guys an update on what I've been reading and what I've been thinking of it. So first up, I finished Castle in the Air by Diane Wynne Jones. This was my first like novel finished of the year, and I did actually quite enjoy this. I gave it a 3.5 stars. I think the first 80 pages to 100 pages, they were a bit slower and they were a bit more introductory, and they were a bit more of an introduction to the series, to our character Abdullah, and to kind of what the story was. There was never a time when things weren't really happening. It was quite fast paced in what was going on, but it was quite slow in that it was all in kind of setting up for what the story then became. But then it became like a bit of a journey, and it was like much more entertaining as it kind of went on. It does indeed get involved with Howl's Moving Castle, which is something that I didn't know if it was going to from the description on the back. It didn't really mention anything to do with my Howl's Moving Castle, but it is the sequel, and it does. Sophie and Howl do come into this book in a very interesting way that I was not expecting and was quite surprised by. And yeah, I really enjoyed the ending of this book, and it was just quite a fun, enjoyable story. It's a middle grade, it was whimsical, lighthearted, you know, things happened that were like, you just kind of accept they happened in like middle grades. And yeah, it's a really interesting, funny world that this is set in. I really enjoyed it. So that was the first book that I read. I then also finished A Dowry of Blood, so that has now been completely finished. I still don't know the author of this, actually. That's bad, I should learn that. But yeah, I also gave this book a 3.5. I did quite enjoy it. I don't actually 100% know if it's supposed to be a Dracula book. I assume it is, but they never actually use the vampire lord name in this throughout the whole book. It's from the first person's perspective from Constanza, and she always refers to him as you, which I'm not 100% sure how much I loved, but I also quite liked, which is weird. So like, I didn't know if I necessarily loved it in that, I don't know, it gave an kind of impersonal feeling about him. But then also I think I liked it because it then made it more about what he was from Constanza's point of view, and not, I guess, what he potentially was if it is in fact Dracula, what we are, the reader, would like potentially put on about him, if that makes sense. Like, it was like everything we were getting about him was from Constanza's point of view and from her like interpretation of him. I hope that makes sense. I do think the book was well written and quite good, but I do think it potentially isn't my sort of book, which is why it was only really a 3.5. Like, a lot of the times there didn't feel like there was much going on, but then stuff would happen. But I don't know, it felt like quite evenly paced, I guess. It wasn't like nothing was never happening, but it also felt like it was quite slow to get to certain points. I also didn't love that, like, Dracula, I don't even know what to call him because they literally never mentioned his name, so we're just going to call him Dracula. So say Dracula had sired these, like, vampires and whatever, and like he would kind of treat them like his children. And then also Constanza was like his wife, and so they were like his kind of vampire wives. But then he would also kind of refer to them as like siblings. So like Constanza and there was this other woman and would be like, you know, go to your sister. But then they would also shag. So I didn't love the kind of terminology in that they were using there, that it was like, she would be like, oh, Magdalena, my sister, but then also my lover, you know? Creepy. Overall, I enjoyed the book. I thought it was quite decent. So yeah, I did finish that. I have started reading A Storm of Swords. This is part 1, and I've read about 65 pages of this so far. So I was already into the book, so I've read about 65 pages. I'm over halfway now. I have about 250 pages of this left, so I do think I'll be able to manage to get this finished this month. I mean, the moment I start reading it again, I really flow back into it. Yeah, just get really into it, and I find it very easy to carry on with. I'm about to start a Danny chapter as I'm putting it down, so I am going to try and make myself pick it back up, because Danny's chapters are ones that if I finish on, I'm not as always quick to pick back up. I'm not going to be doing too much more reading today because I've got work in a bit, but I am going to be reading. I've got the next 2 days off work, and so I'm going to be reading more then. But I think I'm going to be reading The Kingdom Over the Sea. This is by Zora Nabi, and I got a challenge from my reading and from my game to read this in 2 days. So I think reading it over the Wednesday and the Thursday when I have those days off work is my best option for it, or to read on a weekend. But I think I'm going to try and read it. Yeah, so I'll probably read a bit more of this tonight, but then I will try and get this finished over the next 2 days. It is 338 pages, so that would be about 160
170, just under 170 pages a day, which I think is doable. It's not like the writing's on it's not huge, and it is a middle grade, so I think I should be able to find that quite easy, and I'm looking forward to it. So that is going to be my read for Wednesday and Thursday, but then I am just going to continue on with this today. I am about to go and do some uni work, and I'll probably listen to an audiobook. I'm listening to Keepers of the Lost City, I think that's what it's called, which so far, again, I'm enjoying. I think I'm about 9 chapters into that so far, and I'm quite enjoying it. It's quite fun, again, fast-paced, and it gets quite into the story. Our characters so far seem likeable, and I'm enjoying the audio narration of it, which is nice. So that's what my reading is at today, Tuesday. I will update you guys tomorrow. I'm probably not going to update you guys anymore. I've got work in like 3 hours, and then I work through until late. My goal is to get this finished. I'd like to finish it on Saturday, but if not, finish it Sunday morning. But yeah, I don't mind if it's like a 2-week thing, because it's more of a how much can I read in 24 hours. So the actual, I guess, time frame of how long it takes me to read those 24 hours doesn't matter, because it's kind of what I can read in those 24 hours of reading. So just kind of tracking the reading, if that makes sense. But yeah, I will talk to you guys tomorrow with an update on how I'm going. I potentially am going to be in this again tomorrow, because I think it's going to be cold all week. I think it's 0 degrees at the moment, and it's like, feels like -6 outside, and I have to cycle to work. So I have like, I'm going to wrap a scarf around my face and over my ears so they don't get cold, because yesterday my cheeks were so cold once I got to work, and our heating is broke at work as well. So it's just cold in general at the moment, but that's fine. I actually quite like it when it's like this and not raining, and it's like lovely and blue skies and just feels really fresh. So yeah, anyway, I'll get back with you guys tomorrow on how I am doing. Hello guys, so it is now Wednesday. I haven't really gotten about and started my day yet. However, I looked on my clock and I had done it again and left it running. It was at 24 hours. So I think I must have left it running before I went to work. So before I went to work, I think I was at about 5.5 hours. I did do some reading when I came home, and I read 25 pages of my Song of Ice and Fire book, and that definitely takes me longer than 20 minutes, so I'm going to say I was at 6 hours. So with the previous 8 hours that I had also gone missing, I'm going to say I'm at 14 hours, which means I have about 10 hours left to do, which is fine. I think I should be able to do that. Disappointed, but not surprised, to be honest. Clearly I'm better at doing like timer methods if they're done like every day. I should just be screenshotting them at the end of the day or something, just to make sure. So we're starting afresh for the 3rd time, and we have 10 hours left to do. Like I mentioned yesterday, I'll be reading The Kingdom Over the Sea today. I'm basically going to be trying to get this done today and tomorrow. I do need to like get about and really get dressed and everything for today. I just kind of chilling doing my morning routine. But yeah, so this is the main focus for the next 2 days. So yes, I will catch up with you later when I've done a bit more reading, and let's see if I can actually remember this bloody timer, because yeah, that's letting me down. Out of everything, that is the thing that is letting me down. Hello, so we are now on Thursday. I have no idea what this vlog is going to look like. It's going to be a mishmash of days of, yeah, I'm such a bad, like, consistent vlogger. So with the new timer, I'm now at about 3.5 hours. Obviously, for the new timer, I'm trying to get to 10 hours to make my overall title, the overall round number, 24, because I apparently just can't remember to do certain things, which is fine. In the future, if I do some kind of like timing vlog thing, I'm gonna maybe try and do it daily, and then actually make sure at the end of the day I register that, because yeah, carrying on for 2 weeks turns out to be a long time. I did say yesterday I was going to start reading this, Kingdom Over the Sea, which I have. The goal also is to read this in 2 days, so I need to finish this today, because I did start it yesterday, and I managed to get over halfway through yesterday. I'm now at page 212. The book has 340 pages in it, so I have about 130 pages left to read, which I think will take me about 2 hours. I'm reading this pretty much a lot quicker than I thought I initially would, or I guess sometimes I need to adjust how I know my page count is based on what I'm reading, because like 50 pages of this is not the same as 50 pages of like a Song of Ice and Fire book. I read about 40 pages in an hour, I think, for that, whereas I think I'm reading about 60 to 70 pages in an hour for this book. So that's been quite helping, like obviously the time wise. As for this book, I'm really enjoying it. It's such a fast-paced, quick book. It really gets into the story, and it's really fun. This is the author's debut. The writing style is good, and it is easy to read, but it is quite, I mean, it's a middle grade, but it is sometimes quite very like when things kind of happen quite easily, if that makes sense. So like the convenient things that just kind of happen then that help the story move along, if that makes sense. So like our character is in trouble, this woman helps her, who then is able to help her do this, and then our character steals this, which then leads to this, and this happens, and it's like easy things happen, which obviously moves the story along, and is also kind of understandable, I guess, for like the middle grade. It's not like that complicated, you know, it's stuff moving along quite quickly. I am really enjoying this, and I do think the world is really interesting that is in this. The story's quite nice. There is also, though, a lot of crossover, I think, in like, I guess, inspiration between this and my first read of the year. And I think also, but yeah, it's in this video as well, isn't it? Yeah, because this whole video has been the first 2 weeks of January. But yeah, Castle in the Air, there's a lot of the same kind of, I guess, inspirations. They both have sultans in them. They both have djinn. They both have magic. They both have genies in a bottle. This one has a magic carpet, and she's flying on a magic carpet in here. There hasn't actually been a magic carpet yet, so I'm assuming it's going to come in. So it's really interesting that both of these reads have those similar story elements. They also read very differently in terms of the middle grade. This book,
It said it was originally published in 2000, and it very much reads like that. It reads like something I would have grown up, like the kind of child stories I would have grown up reading. So if you think of how, say, potentially, obviously different genre in the middle grade, like Sphere, but how Jacqueline Wilson writes, this kind of reads along that kind of middle grade style, the way the writing is told. Whereas this does feel much more like this was released last year, so like a modern day middle grade. So there's like 23 years between them two. And I think it's really interesting reading them so close together because they have similar story elements. They're very different stories, but similar elements in the stories. But they're both middle grades, and how the middle grade, I guess, writing has evolved. So if you like very classically written middle grade stuff, Castle in the Air would be like more to that, whereas this is definitely more of a modern flair for middle grade. But yeah, they're both still very well written and very good. I do think this one was a bit slower in the beginning, whereas this one really throws you straight into the story. This was a 3.5 for me. So far, this is between a 3.5 and a 4. It's going to obviously depend on the ending and how it wraps up, but I have just been really enjoying this. So yeah, my plan for the day, I don't know if I will vlog again today because apparently I'm shit at that, but my plan for this day is I need to finish this book today if I want my extra points for my game, which I will do. So like I said, I think I've got 2 more hours to it. I'll probably try and do another bit during the day, but I will, if not, finish it at night time before I go to bed. I will make sure that I have enough time to do that, but this will be getting finished today. But I imagine I will tonight get to about 5 hours. So then I'll have 5 hours left of this extremely long-winded, all over the place challenge, which I will hopefully finish on Friday and Saturday. Friday, tomorrow morning, I work, but only for 4 hours in the morning. So I will get back home at about 1:30 and we'll do some bits during the evening. The goal is to finish this on Saturday. I don't want to take this into Sunday with me. I want to have like a refresh day on Sunday before work to then fresh me for the new week of really cracking down on my uni stuff, because I have this assessment that is due in 2.5 weeks and I'm weirdly prioritizing reading over it. When you're in your like procrastination mode where you're doing other stuff that you don't really want to do, but to avoid doing something else that you're like putting off. So like I'm like, I need to do the ironing. I should go and do my ironing. Even though I have like this uni stuff to do, I'm like, I should do the ironing. But it's not that I also don't really like what I'm doing in uni stuff. It's just when I get started, I get in a flow and I'm good and I'm doing it. It's just, yeah, I tend to leave things to the last minute and then feel under a lot of pressure and then worry and then, yeah. So that needs to carry on, which I'm going to do in a minute. I have just put some lunch in. That's the rest of my plans for the day. I might come in with another update later on today. We shall see. But yeah, we're getting to the end. There's about 6 to 7 hours left of this 24 hours to see how much I can read in a 24-hour period, which has been quite a lot actually. And I've been really enjoying it because also all of the books I've read so far have been physically read books, and I've, read 2 comics and then I'm listening to stuff. So it's all contributing, and it's also given me a great head start to my reading for the month and for the year. And I've had a good time. Just have uni stuff that I should be doing. So yeah, I'll catch up with you guys in a bit. Hello, so it's now Saturday. This whole vlog is going to honestly just be a mishmash of days shoved together, put together, and yeah, it's just going to be a bit of a mess, and I apologise for that. But it is Saturday, and so I thought I would come with some reading updates. I have 2 hours left of this reading challenge, which I am going to finish today. So today I will reach what I'm sure is the 24-hour mark. Obviously, like I said, I reset my clock twice, so this will be 10 hours for this clock. The first was 8 and the second was 6. What a mess. But yes, so it is Saturday and I just thought I would do some reading updates. First up, on Thursday, I finished The Kingdom Over the Sea. I did manage to read this in 2 days. I had a challenge from my TBR game to get extra points, so I completed that, which I'm really happy about. And this book was actually so much fun. It was a really easy read. It was quite whimsical. It had magic in it. It had Aladdin-esque like vibes, where obviously the kind of, I guess, inspiration, they both probably come from similar places. And it was just, yeah, it was a really fun story. This was the author's debut, and I do think you could feel that in the writing style a little bit. Not necessarily in the writing style, but in the kind of some of the stuff that happened. It was quite easy in that a lot of the kind of conflicts that came up had very convenient answers or convenient solutions. Like there would be a locked room, say for instance, that they had to get into and there was no key, but oh, one of the people that she had befriended was of like this family that was able to open this door just because of who he was, that kind of thing, because of his like prestigious family. So it was kind of like little bits, incidents like that was just quite a convenient outcome to some solution to some problems, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. It is a middle grade, so I wasn't expecting it to have to be like, oh, we have to do this and this and this and this. But yeah, that's probably my only kind of gripe with it. I did end up giving this a 4-star actually, because I just had such a good time with it. It was such an easy read, very fast paced, and the characters were quite interesting. It has some really nice female characters in this. Most of the characters were female in this. Yeah, predominant female characters, which we love to see, and yeah, quite unique and different. And I liked the idea of kind of the sorcery in this. It had June in it. Yeah, I enjoyed this, and which was quite nice that I enjoyed it, because I looked to the back page and what do I see? This. I don't know if you can see that. the story isn't over. So this is actually going to be a series. I looked it up on this only came out in June, and then on the author's Goodread profile, it said I think she has a book slated for June 2024 that is called something. I think it has Kingdom in it. So that I imagine is going to be the sequel. But I would definitely be keeping an eye out because I really enjoyed this, and yeah, would love to read the next one. Other than that book, I have also been listening to Keeper of the Lost City. I'm 22% through that book. I've put it on pause now. I have really been enjoying that so far. I'll talk more about it before like the third one I get in. But yeah, I have really been enjoying that. But I've put that audiobook on pause, and I've been started listening to Cersei because I didn't know why I didn't start with Cersei, because I have less time from Cersei's audiobook from my library. Like, I've had it out for longer, so I need to give it back sooner. So I was like, oh, I really should be listening to Cersei. So I started listening to Cersei, and about 2 hours in, I think. And so far, I'm really enjoying it. I'm surprised. I honestly know nothing about like the Titans or really that much about Greek god outside of Percy Jackson. And obviously Percy Jackson focuses more on the Greek god side and less on the Titans other than Kronos. So I didn't really know much about any of the other Titans. So it's been quite interesting just the first 2 hours of Cersei, because you are getting quite an introduction into who the Titans are, her family, her father. You know, apparently, obviously according to like Greek myths and legends and stuff, it was her uncle that gave humans fire and things like this. And yeah, none of that knowledge was in my head. So it's been quite interesting. I have no idea where the story's going to go. I know a little bit about Cersei because she is in, I think, Percy Jackson 3, I'm pretty sure, on an island or something. So, and I know that's kind of the story, I think, in this, that she gets sent to an island or something. So I'm interested to see what it's going to happen. This is my first pure Greek mythology retelling that kind of is about the main character. I've read, obviously, Percy Jackson, which takes inspiration, but it's about a batch of new characters. And I've also read ones that are inspired by and do have Greek gods in them, but are not like a retelling of that character, if that makes sense. Like, so this is my first experience with that, and I am really enjoying it so far. The audiobook right now I am getting along with quite nicely. Other than that, I have been reading A Storm of Swords. I have read about, I think I actually read more than I thought I had. Let me have a look. So I was on page 254. I'm now on 407, so I've read about 150 pages. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Once I get into it, I do really want to then read it more and more, but it's like when I have breaks, I have to kind of not push myself to get back into it more, but I do like this series. Some people's chapters I prefer more than others. I am enjoying Daenerys' chapters a bit more now, because like in the first chapter, was it in this or was it in the second book, when they were just like nothing was happening because they were in like this deserted area and there was no one around and nothing was going on. It felt really slow, but she is in Qarth at the moment, and that's quite fun. I do hate how the way women are written in this book, not necessarily the way they are written themselves, because I think there are some actually very good examples of many different strong women in this book and many also different interesting women, but I hate the way that obviously the people in this world speak about women. We've just had, which I guess is spoilers for people that haven't read the books or seen the TV show, but we've just had Tyrion and Sansa's wedding, and she's like 12, which is so grim. And I obviously know, again, different time and all of that, but like grim. Like, she gets naked in front of Tyrion, who's in his 20s, and they're gonna consummate their marriage, and he's like, actually, no, despite the fact that he gets a stiffy about it. And I'm just like, it's just grim, because I think it was obviously different, say, in the books, because Daenerys isn't that much older. She's only, I think now, she's about 13 or 14, I think, but obviously she was given an adult actress because her scenes from the offset were quite graphic. Whereas I'm glad that they didn't give Sansa's character an adult actress, because she is supposed to be younger, but obviously they didn't then do this, they didn't go to the level in like this scene that they did in the TV show, because the actress was underage, so they couldn't have. So I am glad about that. But yeah, it's just like, a bit grim. Because also, though, I do find, again, with their interesting in terms of casting, although I really like Richard Madden, casting him as Robb made me not less empathetic for him. And I mean that in the sense that he really reads as an 16-year-old in this book, because he's 16, so he really reads that way. And so I can really empathize with his youth and vulnerability and confusion, and like kind of his trying to do his best while also like sticking to his morals and trying to uphold like values, and really struggling a lot more because he comes off as 16, whereas obviously you do not read Richard Madden in the Game of Thrones series as 16. He looks like someone in his mid-20s. So not that he can't have those struggles. At 25, you are more mature, so you should have more of an idea of understanding of stuff. If any of that makes sense. I feel like I've just gone on a bit of a ramble, but the whole point was I'm really enjoying this. I am probably going to read a bit more of this. I'm not going to get this finished. This will be the next book that I do finish, but I'm not going to get this finished in this next 24 hours. Yeah, sorry, I feel like I just went off a complete tangent there. And you know, like you can feel it. I've got so much to say, and then it all just comes out. It is Saturday. I am intending to finish off my little reading thing today. I will, though, I'll film the ending of this on Monday, so then I will catch up with you guys on a Monday with how I done, what I actually managed to read, and we can have a look at what I can read in 24 hours. It takes 2 weeks, which is actually quite good. It's like still at more than an hour a day, because it's been 14 days, but yeah, it'll be more than an hour a day, which is lush. So yeah, it'll be 24 hours and I'll kind of go over what I've read and how I've thought about them and yeah, how much I can read in 24 hours. So guys, it is now Monday. I did manage to finish this reading book challenge on Saturday. Like I mentioned, that was my goal. I did manage to do it. I'm not going to show any kind of screenshots because I don't know. That whole screenshot became a mess. I have one screenshot that's like 6.5 hours. I will have my one that's like just over 10 hours. And then, yeah, I did another 8 hours in there as well. So yeah, it was 24 hours. So this was basically how much am I able to read in 24 hours. So I have been successful. It took me 2 weeks, which is fine. I wanted to initially do it in 1 week, but I was working all that week. That took up obviously some time. So I don't know why I thought I could do it in 1 week, but I'm actually just really happy that I, one, managed to do it, and two, I managed to do it in 2 weeks. So I'm pretty happy with that. So I thought I would show you guys what exactly I read in total and yeah, how much can I read in 24 hours. So starting off, I did read most of volume 3. I had read about a third of this and then also all of volume 4 of Heartstoppers. Overall, these books are fine. Book 4 in this was kind of a lot of new content. It deals in an interesting way with mental health and eating disorders, particularly with eating disorders with boys. And it was okay. I didn't hate the way it was dealt with. I didn't love the way it was dealt with. I didn't think it was dealt with in a bad way. And I think it's interesting to show those kind of things in a series. I just don't also think the way that it was dealt with was the way that I would loved. It was very surface level in some aspects because obviously I think it didn't want to go too deep into it to become too serious for like a graphic novel. So it was a bit surface level in that way, but it did touch on topics that I actually really enjoyed. One of them being Nick's mum saying basically about how you can't be the only person for someone, they need other people. And I really liked that because it did very much feel like Charlie was relying on Nick a lot, to the point too much for a 15-16-year-old, that it became like too much. So I did like that it expanded past that and showed outside of that. Overall, these are fine. So that was like the first 2 things that I read this month. My third read was Castle in the Air by Diane Wynne Jones. I really enjoyed this. I do think I mentioned that I thought it was a bit slower at the beginning, but it did have a really nice classic storytelling, like children's storytelling vibe that I really liked. I thought our main character was quite charming. I also really liked the way it tied in Howl's Moving Castle, and this was just fun. It was just a good, enjoyable read, a nice little middle grade. Yeah, so I had a good time with this. So I physically read all of that, and then I also physically read all of Dowry of Blood by, I still don't know who the author is because I still have not checked. It's got initials. I think it's like S.A.S.T. someone. I really need to look up the author. That's bad. But I read the whole of that. I did enjoy this. I thought it was okay. I've spoken earlier about some of my thoughts about it, about certain things that I didn't like about it. And I do think it wasn't just as interesting in terms of action-packed that I would have liked. It did have elements of gore that I liked in it, for what I want from a vampire story. Like when I'm reading a vampire story, I want it to have some elements of blood and gore and such. And it did have some of those elements in it, which I liked. But yeah, there was just not a lot else going on. It was very kind of a mundane story for this kind of supernatural story, which I didn't particularly like. I want action and adventure, I guess, from vampire stories more, maybe. I mean, they don't have to be like that, but it also then wasn't very romancy. And yeah, I found some of the romance between the wives and sisters of this Dracula a bit odd, but I did read it still. And yeah, I thought it was well written and it was very easy to read as well. It's from first person past perspective. It was, I guess people say it's written in letter form, which I guess it is, but I never, when I thought of that, I kind of went into it thinking it would be like dear from, but it wasn't. It was like it was kind of, I think, more of a journal. Like she's just kind of writing out all of her thoughts in this journal. That's kind of, I think, how more I read it as opposed to being from a letter. Yeah, but I read all of that. I then also read Kingdom Over the Sea by Zora Nabi. I really enjoyed this. I read it in 2 days because I had to, but I didn't have to because I wanted to for one of my challenges. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. This was very fun, very whimsical. It wasn't, I was about to say lighthearted, but it wasn't really lighthearted. There were stakes, there were a lot of stuff going on, but it was interesting. I do think, like I mentioned, I thought it was, some of the conflicts were quite easy. And I do think, you know, it wrapped things up, some things quite easily, but I did enjoy the adventure. I enjoyed our main character. It is going to have a sequel, which I will read. Overall, this was fun. It was adventurous. Over this time as well, I have listened to some audiobooks. I've listened to just under 3 hours of City of the Lost Keepers by Sharon Messenger, and so far I'm really enjoying this book. It's quite a long one. I've still got like 9 hours and 50 minutes left of it, and yeah, it's been good fun. I've been enjoying it. It's been like getting you into the world more at the moment, but it's been fast paced, very easily written. Our main character seems interesting. Overall, yeah, I've been enjoying it. Like I said, I'm only a little bit into it. I'm like, about 25% of the way through so far, so I've still got quite a ways to go, but I'm enjoying it so far. I did also start listening to Circe, and I think during this 24 hours, I listened to 2 hours of Circe. I'm now at like 5 hours through Circe, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So only 2 hours count for like what I can read in 24 hours, but I am really enjoying Circe so far. I'm listening to it as well, so I think the audiobook narrator is really nice, and yeah, Circe so far is good. And then last thing that I think I I read was I finished A Storm of Swords. I had about just over 300 pages of this left to finish, but I think only about 260 of them were in the 24 hours. But yeah, the book's finished now. Obviously, this is part one. I don't know if it's printed everywhere like this, but I know in the UK they're printed in halves, some of the books. And so it does feel like that at the end of the book. Like it just kind of stops after someone's chapter. Like there's no like ending to anyone's kind of stories. It gets to a point where it's just like, okay, this is clearly where we're going to cut the book off. So it was either probably about halfway through. So, and it does feel like that, which is a little unsatisfying. Overall, I really enjoyed the book. I think I've mentioned before on my channel, I don't love the way that George R. R. Martin writes about violence sometimes, and especially violence to women. It speaks about rape a lot in these books, especially to like minors and young girls, and nope, I hate that. I don't have an issue reading things to like gory and stuff. I just don't like the casual mention of it when I don't feel like it's necessary. I can get the gore and horror of stuff without hearing that, and I don't like that. There are also bits where it's just like long-winded and rambling. One of these chapters is about the wildlings scaling the walls, and there are paragraphs and paragraphs describing it, and again, I get it, but then also, maybe as a counteract to my own comment, maybe because I can visualize it easier because I've seen the TV show, whereas obviously this would have come out before the TV show, years before the TV show. So like maybe that detailing would have really helped for people who haven't seen the TV show. So maybe that would have been like helpful. That doesn't for me negate the kind of brutality aspect, but yeah, I guess the description aspect is probably quite helpful. I'm seeing that in a different light. So maybe that is why, but sometimes it goes too much. Like when it goes about food and stuff, like I know what food is. I don't need to be described food that much. But yeah, overall, this was a 4-star for me. I really enjoy it. But yeah, and I'm very happy that I was able to get the finish this month as part of this little challenge. So yeah, so I managed to finish 4 books. Obviously, I did not read all of Sword of Storms, and I also managed to read 2 graphic novels and started 2 audiobooks. So yeah, I have done a lot of reading over, it's only been over 2 weeks though. So like that is actually really good for me. I'm actually really happy with what I've read so far, and I think it's really pushed me forward with my TBR for the month. And so that's been quite pleasant. So yeah, that is all the reading that I've done this month. Let me know if you've read anything that I read, what your thoughts were about it. I really like hearing different people's thoughts about different things. So that was it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you again hopefully soon. Bye.